Started 100132.41. We are the Voyagers of the Starship Perfect Faraday in our continuing journey to bring thoughts to the masses. Hello, George.
Hello, Jeremiah.
Hello,
There's something
Internet.
off our starboard bow.
So, what did you want to talk about today?
Well, I think today we're gonna exploring. Actually, I think that's some kind of the theme of today is bringing back some of that wonderment and that awe and that and exploration and that discovery and that we don't have to go down these weird rabbit holes that lead us to aliens, ancient aliens, and stuff like that. I know that stuff is fun. It's I laugh at a lot of that stuff or whatever. I think it's
I'm not saying aliens,
but aliens. So today we're going to talk about discoveries in technology and human achievement, kind of like where they came from, where they've led to, and you know how we got here, the spirit behind it, that spirit of exploration and discovery and opening up new avenues and potentials in human experience. We had I keep saying a lot, but we had a supplier in here recently. He's a good friend too, and me and him got a bit of a discussion about technology and how it moves and how fast it moves and stuff. And he was leaning on, I don't know if he really believes it or not, but he was leaning on the aliens argument a little bit and stuff. And I think we've probably all heard that now if you've been on the internet for more than 5 minutes. An explanation of that, this advancement in technology and stuff. But once you start to explore it and you look at it and you understand the history of it, or if, like us, we work on electronics and everything, you understand that a lot of it's a really natural sort of progression towards why things move in the direction that they do, and in the increase in speed and technology, why things have picked up.
Yeah.
And we're going to link some videos, and it's the history of the transistor.
Yeah, arguably one of the, especially for modern day, for us, we wouldn't have much of our technology without something as simple as a transistor.
Yeah, we wouldn't be streaming to you now. You wouldn't be able to hear our voices. You wouldn't be able to see our faces. None of this would be possible without what the transistor does. In electronics, basic breakdown, it's typically an on-off switch when we're talking about logic, when we're talking about the stuff that we do for a living, the stuff that you guys consume, these videos and everything. At its very, very base, it's just a bunch of zeros and ones, and those transistors are in either a 0 or 1 state, and that's how it does it, and it does math with it and everything like that. And you said, well, George, how does it do those math functions? Basically, those math functions are built off of other zeros and ones.
Well, I thought it was magic.
Aliens. Aliens.
It's got to be aliens. Because, what technology, isn't aliens?
That's right. How did we get that?
How did we get this mouse here?
Now, there's been sightings.
It's probably aliens.
There's been sightings, and there's video recordings on military equipment and everything of things that are difficult to explain. That's kind of not the theme of what we're doing today, but in those videos and those clips and some of that stuff, there is things that can't be easily explained, and there is a reason behind it, but we just don't understand it yet. So UFO means an unidentified flying object. It doesn't mean it's of an alien origin or an otherworldly origin. It just means that they don't know what it is. So why do we pay so much attention to that? Why do we kind of get off on the track of that, which I feel is kind of like the wrong track? It's fun. It's fun to think about. It's fun to think about other civilizations visiting us and stuff. But I believe that there's going to be an explanation. We're just not there yet in our understanding of physics and other things. And we build on the knowledge of what we've discovered and what we've tested out. like in the case of the transistor. Before the transistor, there was...
We started out with, what, the vacuum tube?
The vacuum tube.
They were probably like this... Well, actually, they were probably this big.
To start out with, they were huge.
Yeah, so like the first computer was comprised of... I think it was called the Eniac. It was about 30-ton computer in a big room.
And it was...
And this watch, has more transistors in it now than what that did, but,
Let's explore the Eniac a little bit further there, because I think it helps tie some of this stuff together. What was the purpose of that computer?
Honestly, I don't know. I think you do that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was to calculate trajectory for artillery for the military.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's what its purpose was.
Did they mess with some like analog computers before that for like trajectory, and it didn't work out?
Yeah, no, actually, they were mostly analog, like handheld sort of analog devices. They did work out. They did work out, but it still took time.
Yeah, I think Veritas.
It wasn't fast.
A video on early analog computers.
Yeah.
They
They don't have the speed. They don't have the storage capacity and stuff. But there are some neat analog type devices or whatever that can help you get you there to a calculation quicker.
All right.
So that was kind of like the whole point of it. But
getting back to the Eniac and the vacuum
Eniac's
tube,
really what
right?
it is.
Like what had to happen or whatever next after the vacuum tube
was the transistor.
Yeah.
Not in its current iteration, not in for example, in the processor in your computer or your phone or anything like that, where they can put billions of transistors on there. The very first transistors were actually quite bulky. They were larger. They were testing. They were built like one at a time, and then they mostly through material science discoveries. A lot of it has to do with material science. Mostly through material science discoveries, they were able to move past that, make them smaller.
Oh, and they found like semiconductors like silicone.
Yeah, gallium was they messed around a lot with gallium, and then they messed around with silicon, and then they learned different manufacturing techniques. Again, a lot of these discoveries, like a lot of the discoveries you may hear about that come out of a lab and then never make it into mass production, is because they can't mass produce it at an affordable cost to make it worthwhile to try to integrate it into our system. Because we make discoveries all the time, like super high efficient solar cells and things like that, but they just don't have a process for mass producing them.
Graphene.
Graphene. Yes, like graphene, for example.
We'll get there someday.
Yeah, maybe we might.
We might not.
Or we might just be like, we found this other material that's
like borafine.
Yeah, that's cheaper and faster and easier to make, and it lends itself better to the practice, and maybe it, does the job good enough. That's the other part of it is sometimes, like in the example of solar cells, sometimes you don't want to do the most efficient one because it costs so much. A few percentage efficiency less might be okay, get the job done, and be 1/100th the cost to produce. So you're like, no, this works, and it furthers that technology along, and people actually can afford it and buy it. Companies and people can afford and buy it. So that's how a lot of technologies end up kind of like working their way through. So the transistor is just like a natural progression.
Yeah, I mean, it ended up back in the 60s being about this size, and they put in radios and that, and what was it, like the early 70s before they really had commercial computers, but they were able to. One of the videos is like a very historic. What was it from like 60, 65? What was it, 2,000 transistors they were able to put on, the processor, and, they were impressed by it. I mean, it was impressive
for its time,
considering, the whole building probably was vacuum tubes.
It wasn't a 20-ton machine, full of vacuum tubes that burnt out regularly that you had to change out quite frequently. So
but honestly, the point of it is, right, you can follow the progression of it. I don't know how there's aliens in there. I guess people would maybe make the argument that if we started using a different chemistry or whatever, but I'm sure you could, switching from silicone to... Actually, that didn't come till much later. They still use silicone, but...
So the transistor is important. The transistor is important to bring up in this, and like the whole point and stuff, because people might point out, technology just suddenly exploded so quickly and came across the scene. One, it didn't explode as fast as some people may perceive it.
Yeah, well,
but
what was one of the big factors? Maybe people saw it that way. I would argue it was probably the space race and/or the Cold War. A lot of stuff was being worked on.
Space race and the Cold War. Well, space race is kind of part of the Cold War, right? In
really
its way,
roughly.
like we were kind of like competing with Russia.
I do think it was our push to beat out Russia, into space that kind of like pushed us toward it. Like, oh look,
our system is better, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of the argument.
We got the first dog in space. We got the first man in space, first man on the moon. And
yeah.
I think that was like a good time. I mean, not so much the Cold War part of it, but I mean, I would love to see something, something positive push us toward innovation again, because I really feel like we've stagnated.
Yeah, positive competitiveness.
Like true innovation, not just incrementally,
Yeah, and how do we make those leaps? A lot of times there's a lot of public funding behind it. It's tax dollars put to use. What good comes out of that? Well, there's a lot of good that comes out of these programs, like the space race, for example.
Yeah.
This push.
Pretty much nearly everything on here
can be contributed to, space agencies, research funds, and stuff like that.
The internet was started by DARPA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back
DARPA.
in the day.
Internet was started by DARPA. And
Which
as
would
much
be
as
more
I
the
love
Cold War part of it, but
as much as I love to rag on the government and stuff, and I do love to rag on the government, there's good that can come out of these research programs, and the spending that goes into them. For example, like GPS. We'll have a link in the description to
kind of the history of GPS.
Yeah, why GPS became free to us. GPS started.
I'm sure the younger crowd doesn't even realize that GPS hasn't always existed.
Yeah.
When we were younger, we had a teacher. What was he, like a science teacher?
Yeah.
He was just so proud because he had like a GPS thing that was this big, and back in the day, you couldn't get within 100 meters, and but the nerds still figured out how to get a little bit better precision, but they had to do it by hand. Actually, some of them might have had some black box stuff that could figure it out better, because there was tricks to like figuring
get around the inaccuracy that the military intentionally left in there. Ronald Reagan signed the act or bill that allowed for the public use of the GPS system for free, even though it's not free because our tax dollars.
It was something like $2 million.
$2 million a day goes into
keeping
the GPS system running.
Yeah.
That's $2 million of taxpayer money. But I think that the efficiency that you gain on the other side of it's worth that investment.
Yeah, well, there's so much stuff nowadays that can't work without GPS, pretty much.
Yeah. And going back to the transistor, is that there was use for it, and then it was heavily used in military technology in these Cold War fights, global positioning systems, rocket positioning, which is part of the GPS system and stuff, but also there's ground-based stuff, very rapid calculations, and then the space stuff or the satellites. There's kind of a marriage of stuff there that kind of pushed the technology way prior, before personal computers really started to catch on in any meaningful way. They were more of a toy or an oddity that people. I remember the Tandy TRS-80s, what we called them trash 80s back in the day. I'm starting to age myself here. The trash 80s back in the day, or the Commodore 64s for some people. That was after believe it or not, that was after the trash 80s. These were the kind of things that people would play around with, but there wasn't too much you could do. You could start to learn some programming stuff. You could start to mess around with a few things and everything, but they're nothing like, they don't approach what's on your phone, let alone what you have on your desktop computer or real serious computational power now that's available to us. The progression of this through time has allowed for an increase in efficiency. And this is what I'm going to get back around to, like, how did technology explode so much and so rapidly? It's because if I told you, you give me $1 and I'll give you $2 back tomorrow, and you trust me, I'm a trustworthy guy, and you say, okay, George, that sounds like a great deal, and I make true on that word, and I say, same deal applies today. You give me $1, I give you 2 back tomorrow, and you're going to keep coming back. You're going to keep coming back. You're going to keep doing that. You're like, man, this is the best way of investing ever. Well, a lot of technology brought along a lot of productivity increases for a lot of businesses, through automation, through it. That's what we work on is in automation. It allowed us to produce a lot of goods, farmland more efficiently.
Do you know what industry actually just kind of kicked off the automation? I think you do.
Well, I do.
As far as like, machines.
Automotive industry.
Well, before that even.
I wouldn't know before that.
Textile.
Oh, textiles. Yeah, textiles. I fell into the same trap that a lot of other people do about automation. It's because I know the story of like Ford, and what Ford did is they used a lot of what's relay logic. They railed in these entire train cars full of relays, and when they would do a model change, they'd literally unwire everything and they'd roll that train car out and roll a new train car in, and that was how they did it until Alan Bradley brought along the PLC to Ford. Yeah. And when that was done, that kicked off the whole.
I guess automotive would be like electrical automation, but it was more mechanical, like automation in the textile industry.
Yes.
If I remember
Yeah.
right.
No. Textiles have a lot of mechanical.
And they used
automation.
a lot of the designs. I can't remember. It wasn't like a fridge designer or something that made a lot of the looms and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think
people still had to be involved, just like you'd have an operator, but it just did a lot of, so they're not individually stitching stuff.
There was a lot more manual labor required to run these things. So the whole point is this productivity explosion, right? So you have this really, really great increase in productivity. You get this big increase in productivity, and we could talk about wages not going up with this increase. That's a discussion for a whole nother thing. But you had this big increase in productivity, so you were able to produce more efficiently with less labor and less inputs, less energy expended, and it just was natural sense that and again helped to increase and further the explosion of these technologies, because there was so much money into it. Because what I was doing in essence was, you were giving me $1 and I was giving you $2 worth of productivity, is basically what was going on with business. So you'd come to me and I'd sell you this bit of automation or whatever, and this started to really hit in the 80s, 70s to 80s, and you really started to see this really take off in automation in a lot of the first world countries like the United States, Japan, several other countries. And that's why technology just snowballed. It snowballed from there, because we were already doing that on that side before the personal computer had really made a large ingress, or the internet had really made a large impact. It existed, but it wasn't that big yet. The 90s really blew up the internet, and it just snowballed from there.
If there's any younger, people younger than 30 out there, I kind of wonder if they know that there was a time when
we had to go to libraries.
Yeah, you had to go to the university, or
we had to use the Dewey Decimal System to find books.
Well, to get on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
or use the dial-up at some point, but to have like really good internet, maybe you go to the university.
If you wanted to move a file of any size, man, most of the time you would go to a library or university library or something like that, because
there might be a few people before our time that could be like, oh, you got it,
Yeah.
And that's the progression of things. It'd be like, you had it easy. We had to, put the phone on a big old cup. And we were lucky if we got 13 characters a minute. Both walking through the snow both ways.
Yeah, with a boulder on my back. Yeah. But that's just the natural progression of the technology, is because it added so much more efficiency, you were getting more return for your inputs, and this continued to happen. This continued to go on, and this continued to increase. And there's a lot of opportunity. I try to tell people about that a lot. There's a lot of opportunity for people to do it here in the U.S. in other countries. Is investing in the right things for production in your own country, so you're not relying on foreign countries and stuff. We have the technology.
So that's the true spirit of like investing in that.
Yeah.
What the market.
Yeah.
You'd say originally.
Yeah, I don't. The stock market and we call it the
Main Street
versus Wall Street. Yeah. Wall Street is not very reflective of Main Street for a long time now. It's become mostly a speculative market where they move a lot of money around, and they're not producing anything.
High volume betting, but the odds are in their favor because they have so much money.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can literally
make or break a company.
Yeah, because I mean, if you are a large enough company, you can put big shorts on companies and drive the price down. You could turn around and buy. Because you might know the health of the company is actually really good. And
nowadays you can put out a tweet if you're important enough.
Put out a tweet and drive a price up or down or something. If you have that kind of influence, that tells me right there that that's not tethered to reality, or tethered very, very weakly to reality. Because to me, real investment is I'm gonna go start a plant somewhere that produces a good that people want, or I'm gonna go start a small business somewhere that produces a service that some people need and want. That to me is investing. That to me is good, real, capitalist, moral investment, right? And I'm not saying people shouldn't have 401ks and stuff, because the idea of the stock market is that you're buying a piece of a company, and hopefully you'll get dividends on some of them, and hopefully the value of that increases. What's the
disclaimer? We're not saying how to invest your money.
Yeah,
we're just kind of.
This isn't financial advice.
This is our opinion.
Yeah, this is not financial
on things,
advice.
But I do think the speculative market has kind of drove us where we're at, where everything, just kind of went to shit, because like at a point you're just betting back and forth against nothing.
Yeah. Other people.
What is the true value of our money? What is the true value of our money?
Well,
you can describe it better than me.
Our currency is backed by the labor and productivity of its citizens. Period. It is not backed by gold. It is not backed by anything else. It's backed by our productivity. So if you shut down a country for 2 years, or part of the country for 2 years, or wherever you're watching this from, if you shut down a country for so long and just print money, what backs that? The little bit that's been produced, or whatever was produced during the time, is what backs that. So when people talk about inflation, why are we undergoing such rapid and terrible inflation? Highest inflation rates, they say, in 40 years. They said that yesterday they just announced highest inflation rates in 40 years. And I'm like, no, it's probably even worse than that, because they adjusted those numbers to make them not look as bad. They changed the way they counted that a little while back. Yeah. And see, I'm old enough, I'm aware of this, and I realize it, and I say, no, you can add 3 to 5% on top of that, because they were taking things out of what they counted as inflationary things to try to make it soften the blow.
Well, and that's similar to how
government reporting.
Yeah, different parties over time had said, "Oh, the economy's doing great," because they just look at the Wall Street thing. Well, that's great. That's a small, that's that 1% or whatever. They trade money back and forth.
Well, it's not just 1%. I mean, there's people have pensions.
Yeah,
people have 401ks.
Yeah, predominantly outside of the hedge funds and that, which I guess hedge funds, like some of them actually legitimately do handle 401ks. But
if it wasn't,
there's a lot of them out there that just handle their money. If
it wasn't such a speculative market, and I'm not telling people don't ever invest in the stock market or whatever, because it's like you should invest your money somewhere, but invest wisely.
Yeah. And more attention to where your money's at.
Yeah, but just know what it is.
If you have a money manager, be in contact with them a little bit, see what they're doing. Don't just let it sit there,
Yeah. Personally, I've learned a lot about the stock market over the years. I've learned that what it is, a speculative market. I do understand how to invest in. I do understand over time. I couldn't tell you from day to day whether I could make money in it day to day, but I do understand how to make money in it over time, very consistently. But doing what most people tell you to do, and it is like a fool's errand to me. I look at it and I say, okay, so you're just gonna guess and think like, okay, I'm gonna buy Tesla stock, for example, because it's a super popular name right now. They're selling a lot of cars. Well, guys, the Tesla stock's been going down recently, so there's a lot of fluff in there, getting attacked. They get a lot of negative press, a lot of undeserved negative press, to be honest with you. Some of it's probably well deserved, and I think most of it's not. Whereas in his competitors don't get that same sort of negative press. So when I look at things like that, I realize there's like a manipulation, and then there's big. Bill Gates bought a big short position, which is betting that it's going to go down. It's a freaking bet. And he's got a ton of money, so he can really manipulate stock prices, and so there's just a lot of junk that goes on. Musk can too.
He definitely has,
he's got some
tanked Bitcoin and different, or not Bitcoin, but different cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, so there's a lot to say about manipulation and attitudes towards it and stuff. The stock market's driven by emotion. I had a stock trader teach me that when I was like in my early 20s. He said there's two things that drives the price of a stock and nothing else. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's just two things. It's fear and greed. That's it. It's just fear and greed. You want to make more, or you're afraid you're going to lose money. I mean, and that's what drives it. So there's the stock market's like an emotional reaction to things and news and stuff. I expect it to continue on probably until long after I've left this earth. That it'll probably continue to be that way. That doesn't mean I won't take advantage and invest, and when there's opportunity, over time, and grow, my wealth somewhat through the stock market as well. But I do believe that when the opportunity's there to invest in something real and tangible, like a business that produces something real, I'm going to take that route. That's the way, I pull money out of the stock market or whatever. And that's the route that I want to take. So when we talk about this growth in the economy and everything, and why we are where we are, this growth in technology, how we got here so quickly, how things sort of just exploded, it's actually more of a natural progression than people realize. It's just you have to kind of look at the details of it and see why it is the way it is. We kind of got off on a little side tangent there.
I was about to try to bring you back on that, but like any system, it doesn't happen overnight,
No.
Anything,
No. So we are, I was super excited about the news about the James Webb Space Telescope. I've been following this James Webb Space Telescope thing for several years. Jeremiah, maybe. I think he brought it
probably
up
since the inception. So they began.
Yeah, you've been watching it before.
I don't know the year it got approved, but it was probably.
I didn't think it was
very early 2000s, but they began building it in 2004. So
I kept thinking it was going to get canceled.
Well, 8 to 10 years in, once Obama got in office, he cut a lot of spending to NASA, and it was funny to me. I asked a lot of people because I knew the answer. I was like, "How much do you suppose?" As a percentage of our GDP at the time. It probably fluctuates, but as a percentage, how much of our GDP do you think goes toward NASA? And you'll be very surprised. Because, I got all sorts of answers, 10%, 20%, 30%.
Yeah.
No, NASA is nothing like, our defense. No, it's less than 0.5%, on average.
Yeah.
But he cut a lot of spending and basically held the James Webb hostage. I'm not going to be nice about that because it was one of the things that frustrated me because I very strongly into astronomy. He held it as hostage for NASA to cut their spending, and that's when they started cutting manned space flight and that, which actually in the long run, it really wasn't too damaging because privatized space, at least for manned flight, really should have been the way that we're going. But we do need the oversight of NASA.
Yeah, it's sort of like an FAA.
Yeah, big business will cut corners and people will die.
Yeah, exactly. So you want the safety systems and everything to be up to par.
It just frustrated me that the Webb, telescope was kind of, used in that aspect, Like,
yeah.
get your stuff together when we really could have cut spending a whole lot of other places, you know?
Yeah, that's
because ultimately, it's 18 years now. It's finally up in space, and it costs $10 billion. I think if you look at it, just as that's how much it costs to build it, but I think it's quite a bit more than that.
Yeah.
You know, dragging it out over 18 years because people have been constantly working on it. So,
but
I imagine it's worth a lot more than that. But y'all have seen the pictures, and I don't. Do you want to like switch over here?
So the picture that we're about to show you is one of the 4 main images that the James Webb Space
4
Telescope.
and a garbage one, but
yeah,
it's 5, I guess. But
I don't count that. And I was wholly and thoroughly impressed by the detail and stuff. You can zoom in. We'll have a link in the description. I really encourage people to check this out because this is really inspiring. This is inspiring for the next steps, for our species, the next stages of exploration. And I really would love to see that awe and that spirit of exploration grow in people again, and that desire to reach beyond the stars and reach to new galaxies. And how do we make that happen? And how do we get there? We don't even have the technology or understand the science to get there.
Well, for
yet.
better or worse, exploration has always drove us to,
deeper understanding, better lives, better standards of living. So I do believe that there's a lot in the space program. I've always been very, very supportive of the space program. It's one of the few government sort of expenditures. Again, they don't get but a fraction of the budget. Like you could shift 1% from the defense budget, and I'm prior military. I want a strong defense. But you could switch 1% over to NASA, and they'd have more money than they knew what to do with. So, they'd find something to do with it. They got bureaucrats there.
I'll talk about this one.
All right.
So this, I know y'all have probably seen it because it's smattered throughout social media and that. But there's more to it than you might even realize. I know y'all have seen the deep field. Hubble has done that, where like every point on it nearly is a galaxy, and you can see a lot of galaxies in here. I can't remember what this looked like on the Hubble. I actually didn't look for, but it was probably a lot more smeared. But yeah, you can see like little galaxies here. It's called the Stephen Quintet because there's actually 5 galaxies. There's one here, one here. These are actually 2 merging, and this one's like coming in to merge with those. As you can see, the material here just kind of all comes together. And these things are vast. They're huge. They're like many, many millions to billions of light years across. And if you don't know astronomy, that's like a light year is how far light travels in a year, and that's quite a distance.
That's
the,
a long
the closest star to
ways.
us is like 4.2 light years away.
Alpha Centauri, or is it?
Yeah, it's Proxima Centauri.
Proxima Centauri.
But then you have this little blob down here, and it's actually a galaxy too. It's just not as pronounced. They're called globular clusters, but there's a lot of stars in there. So the website we'll give you a link to is actually Webb Telescope. It has, these are ridiculously like large images. They're like 12,000 by 12,000 pixels.
It's so you can zoom in.
Yeah. So like this galaxy over here, let's zoom in a little bit. See like literally every dot here? Those are all stars. Like every team, looks like a grain of sand. It's ridiculous. And then we come back over here. You can see, like, these are galaxies. These are galaxies. See some of these smaller things? You just assume they're stars. Well, let's zoom in. Oh, my God. More galaxies.
More and more.
Yeah, so the Webb telescope and all of its instrumentation is somewhere like up to 100 times more powerful than the Hubble. And, that's just how technology comes along. I don't think any aliens helped us with this. It was a lot of manpower, a lot of, like, great minds coming together.
A lot of engineering technicians. I don't want to hear everybody always give the credit to the engineers.
Yeah, exactly.
Freaking guys that actually do the work and figure out a lot of the problems.
Like, that doesn't work because, it works on paper. But, yeah, like, all these ones that are, like, spread out like this are galaxies for the most part. Any of these are, with the bright starlight, are actually stars. There's some random stuff in here that I'm sure that they'll
probably zoom in
this.
on more.
This is probably a globular cluster, but no telling. But yeah, astronomy has just always been amazing to me. There's so many crazy things out there, and To talk about some of the other pictures, they had one that really wasn't a picture. It's impressive, but it was just how much water they found on an exoplanet. And I wish they would have actually shown a visual thing of an exoplanet, because I want to see that, because this telescope is powerful enough to at least kind of, show us the first visual thing. It might not look as good as a picture of Jupiter, but we will be able to.
I watched the sit down reveal.
Yeah,
And I feel like you did a little layup for me there.
Yeah.
I watched the sit-down reveal. Actually, we both did. I'm sorry. We were both here watching it. We watched the sit-down reveal from NASA together. And I was...
About the images. It was
about the images. Yeah. I was really disappointed with that.
It was like the press asking questions.
Yeah, and it was like NPR, ABC, NBC, a few other ones that I think I'd heard of before or whatever. And a lot of the questions were just... It was like the same question, like, how excited were you? How excited were you to see this? How excited were you to see this? And then, there was somebody that had to get the SJW question in there. And I was not like happy with this. Like, well, none of us are really happy with the press. But when it comes to science stuff like this, like, can you guys that are running stuff, can you guys send people that have more than 3 brain cells to rub together?
Yeah.
In there, please.
Ask more questions about the actual content.
Yeah, because these people up there sitting on the stage are highly intelligent people.
Yeah, and all of them could have explained probably better than me, because I might have had some of that off, but none of them explained even the simplistic stuff like I just did. Yeah. And I was frustrated, because I was like, well, we just spent how much on this? With taxpayer dollars? Like I said, it's probably well over 10 billion, but that's just the number I would say for the physical parts of it, and maybe some of the labor. But once you factor everything in, it's going to be at least twice to 3 times that.
The years of work that went into it too. It's absolutely amazing.
These amazing minds, that put this all together.
I can't stop staring at the picture.
Do you think it was a matter of the press, the questions they were asking, or what they were allowed to answer? It was just frustrating.
There was 2 parts to it that frustrated me. Okay, one was the press's questions, which I've come to expect them to be mostly stupid questions anyway. And want to form narratives. They know the answer to it. They know that these guys geeked out when they first saw the pictures and yay, it worked. All their work came together. Of course they were excited.
Everybody I've pointed out what I just did, that's not even something they explained. I don't think they said we had the high res. They might have. Do you remember them saying that?
I don't remember saying that.
Yeah, that went from wow to oh my gosh, Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you can zoom in. You zoom in on.
But I've just known that you've been able to do that with the Hubble. You just have to know where to find it. The stuff's available, but
and you're going to want to look at the James Webb stuff too, and they're going to point it at some stuff that's closer.
Yeah, and Jupiter,
and the nearby, star systems and stuff like that. So they're going to be using this for a lot of different things. There's going to be a lot more cool images that are going to come out. These are beautiful, stunning images that have a lot of detail.
Something that's disappointing to me is, I followed this, and again, these aren't doctored in the sense that they might put some fake color sometimes in it, because the way the telescope works, and maybe there's not solid reds or that, but this isn't just some artist stuff. This is the actual images.
Yes.
It's just what the instrumentation does is it takes many pictures, in different spectrums and that, and then they overlay them and make it visual, so where it makes sense to
they're able to see through a lot of dust and debris in there, because they're looking through different wavelengths of light and be able to filter that out. But you're getting actual images, of things that actually exist. So one of the things I kept trying to say this was one of the things that disappointed me. The other thing that disappointed me, the second thing that really disappointed me about the scientists on the panel's answers about it, and it was an opportunity for everybody sitting up there to help instill into all people watching across the world, the young and old alike, a sense of wonder and a desire for exploration. They were given an opportunity and a few questions there about, are you seeing anything surprising? Was for example, one of the questions, have you seen anything surprising stuff? And instead of showing humility, and this is a problem I think we have in a lot of science, and I think in NASA in particular, is that instead of showing like humility and saying, yes, yes, there's some of these things that now are obviously galaxies that we didn't know before. We thought maybe they might just be like a red dwarf star. So let me pull this back up again. Okay. So for example, if you look on here and you take a look at like a small red area on here, or whatever, because the clarity of that image wasn't so good before when they were looking through the Hubble, but when you zoom in, you're looking at that's not
obviously
a star.
A spiral galaxy.
That's a spiral galaxy. Make it real big for you right there. And there's another one.
So ridiculously far away. It's just
and
amazing.
Then these tiny little blobs might be as well in the background. But I mean, it's so big, so big. And then the other thing, and people can, kind of debate about this all they want to, is they, no matter what, they stick to their guns about certain challenged sort of I hate saying ideology about things because certain theories in
I guess I wouldn't say ideology,
it's
except
more
for
like
that they hold it true.
It's like a religious
what they call
belief.
settled science, but it's not. You can't. There's nothing in astronomy that's settled science.
No.
You can have a close approximate, but until you could travel there, which you probably can't, because some of these things are so far away they might not even exist anymore.
Yeah,
because we're just seeing the light that
of where they were at a certain point in time.
And even the distances are arguable. But there's even if it's 10 times less, some of these things are still so far. Like
obviously.
But that's an argument, like.
Yeah, and
a whole nother time,
And I'm completely willing to be proven wrong on that. I don't have a problem with people providing better data on it, but a lot of the talk is they talk about like Redshift. You might hear this in it, and I've always taken a bit of an issue with that. I've always taken a bit of an issue with the whole Redshift things. Not because I want to be like argue with the scientists. I don't want to like tell them they're wrong and seem like the smarter guy or anything like that. It's more of, I think you need to keep, in science, you need to keep a healthy dose of skepticism about what is the mainstream sort of thought process, what the mainstream theories are. Theories is the word I'm looking for. The mainstream theories on it, because what we find out quite often in scientific discovery is that we were wrong, that our theory has to be revised, new data, and scientists are only willing to do that, especially nowadays, only willing to do that when like there's just a mountain of overwhelming evidence to the contrary of what they believed. And many times when presented with a new data set, they will often, you can go back over the last decade, you can see this quite often in the space sciences. What they will do is they will go in and they'll change like an equation to keep it matching the theory, to make it, what they observe, therefore mathematically, quasars, neutron stars.
Oh, in my lifetime, quasars they thought were stars, but quasars or something coming out of the middle of the galaxy, arguable,
Well, neutron stars, I have a problem.
Yeah.
That to me still seems like a very theoretical thing, because they observed something that's making a noise basically very, very, very quickly, and the more they looked for them, they were like, oh, there was a theoretical physical size limit to these things, and then they said, oh no, because this one's spinning so fast, they had to change the math. Because it's like it would spin apart. It would be spinning too fast because some of these things spin in like the kilohertz range and stuff like that. So you would think about if our sun, spin faster than a dentist drill is basically what it would be a comparison. What would that do? Well, it would fling apart.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, oh, maybe this is something else, maybe it's something we don't quite understand, maybe it's something else, they said, no, it's a neutron star. We're just going to adjust the math. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. It really doesn't work that way. So there's these theoretical bodies, but it's cool to think about that there are stuff that we don't understand. Like we're hearing and observing things that we don't understand, and that should be cool to people. That should be like looking out on the horizon and seeing a T-Rex or something like that, like for the first time. Be like, oh my gosh, it should inspire people and want people to look at it more and get them more interested in science and get them more supportive of technology and the money spent in these type of technologies that better like all of our existence. I think it's a cool thing. Let's spread that wonderment and that joy for discovery again, because it's not like we're going to discover much new land on this planet. So let's keep reaching to the stars. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think in my experience in talking with people like in science, like astronomers and cosmologists are some of the few that, even if they're atheists, they still like, they know like just the vastness of what's out there, or even the how much is in just the tip of your finger, like how many atoms, that like there's got to be something holding that all together, and that's like where I get a lot of my like peace, like in oneness with the universe, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, is just. Oftentimes I'll look at pictures, like if you want to switch over this.
There's a spirituality to the physical.
The deep field, like nearly every point on here is a galaxy, and you figure,
so beautiful,
millions to billions of stars in each one.
Zoom in on a few more. Show them a few more.
Yeah, like. No, this one's just not as good as the Stevens one. Like,
it looks like it's got like a spin on it or something.
Yeah, but in the middle here, like, I kind of have to wonder what's going on. Maybe they'll come out and explain it, but you see how these are, like, warped? Well, what's even there that's warping that? Maybe this globular cluster here? But they always say gravity, like distorts light. But you know what else distorts light? Like dust. Just like...
Dust.
Yeah, you ever seen, like, tried to look at something in a glass of water or whatever, and it refracts
steam.
Yeah, it's not necessarily gravity doing that. It's just maybe there's something there that's passing through that we don't, quite understand. But this is just crazy. There's like some really red object. This is your redshift.
The lensing effect. They say gravitational lensing. The lensing effect isn't just a gravity effect. The lensing effect can be done through optics. That's why we have glasses.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a whole lot of dust in a particular part of space that like refracts a certain way because it's silica or something, maybe that's what's like bending the light, basically not really bending the light. It's just taking a different path once it hits it. I just have a hard time believing that gravity bends light. We haven't proved it. Not really. So.
Yeah. And our understanding of this universe, our understanding of how things are so connected, and these things everything's connected. It's amazing when you start to look at, through all these different connections between the stars. There's this big connectedness to it all. In some of these pictures, they look like they're not connected at all, but then when you look at the different, you look at the images in different wavelengths of light, and it does pick up like the dust clouds and these huge energy tendrils between them, and these beautiful pictures. There's these beautiful pictures, and it seems almost like this living being, and you're just like, wow, like what's why is all this stuff connected, and how does this work, and of course, gravity is the only hammer that modern astronomy seems to use. The effects of dark matter.
Well, every once in a while I hear a theory, what was it, Newton started I'm sure there was philosophers that had an idea what gravity was before that, but I think Newton was the first one the Newtonian,
I think there was like was it a German or a French guy or something like
probably, that and Newton built it off of it.
Yeah,
it's hard to say, but then Einstein came along and the theory of relativity and refined it. And honestly, I hate that I always say honestly, it is necessary to have like a model for science, but you can't like be so close-minded, because we would not even be able to we wouldn't have been able to put this telescope up there if we didn't have like maths, that worked out, in a certain scale. But what frustrates me is they want this, equation for everything, and I don't think they'll ever have that tacked down. But some of them will claim, that
it takes exploring.
What is that called? The standard model.
So
that the standard model settled. Bullshit.
Go and take a look at the video on the history of the transistor, the old one, the one by AT&T that we have the link in the description to. And you'll realize then that these guys were goofing around. I say goofing around, but I mean, come on, they were nerdy guys. They're very intelligent guys. They're very. They understood a lot of different material science effects. They understood energy. They understood electricity, and they were observing things by putting them together. And a lot of times, it wasn't even that they were theorizing something. They were just putting stuff together and seeing what it did. A lot of that was just exploration in it, and then they're like, "Wow, somebody wrote a paper and they said, oh, the conductivity moves in the opposite direction in gallium, a semiconductor, things like that."
Chemists do the same things. I mean,
oh yeah,
Post-it notes was an accident. It was supposed to be a super adhesive. Like
nylon was an accident.
Yeah,
there's a ton of scientific accidents that really made our lives better. That helped us produce a lot more stuff. Helped us feed a lot more people. There's all kinds of breakthroughs that are done by accident because they're going down a path, but they're taking their notes, they're observing, they're taking scientific methods, and then something pops up on them. They're like, oh, wow, look at this.
So to make it clear for any of y'all out there that are completely hating on science, I get. I mean, I'm frustrated by closed-minded scientists, I guess is the word.
Yes.
But we do need science or we wouldn't have nice things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I will say that. But then, like, the other side will be like, oh, you're attacking science if you question something, we need to figure this out. We need to stop fighting about it. We need to stop being so closed-minded. That's the whole point of,
I want to puke when I hear somebody say the word settled science.
Yeah.
That is a political term, guys.
There's very few things in this world you could say are settled. I mean, there's probably some things that...
I need oxygen to survive. Okay, there's a settled scientific fact, okay? But
but what if a mutation came along where somebody actually didn't need to breathe oxygen? I know that's not a thing, but
well, I mean, theoretically that could be possible or whatever. But
true science evolves and changes and questions itself.
It questions itself. And constantly tests itself. Yeah.
It verifies and keeps it going, or you learn something new. You find something new and neat out of it.
And I think this is where, like, a lot of times you'll have, like, engineers clash with academics. You'll have like real world engineers clash with academics on the stuff because they'll end up butting heads over something because the engineers will be like, okay, well, we understand these things because it works in the physical world. These are the things that kind of play out and everything, and they might observe something, and then a scientist might be like, no, it's not that way because this is the structure by which everything was built off of, and they say, well, you've got to amend it, and I don't want to get into the whole COVID vaccine type thing or the green movement going on right now across the world and stuff like that, because I don't want to make this show too political.
Yeah,
but
it's just not even a helpful discussion at this point.
But I do have a big problem when I hear talking heads say something like the science is settled or trust the science or anything like that. I trust established, long-term established science. Like oxygen, I need to read. The world, is a globe. It's not flat.
Yeah.
Things like this, the sun rises and falls. The earth circles the sun. These are all settled things. These are things that I could say. If you said that's settled science, I could be like, okay, cool. Like that's the kind of thing I could say, okay, that's settled science. But to put your faith completely behind when there is not consensus, and then to call it settled science, and to say, oh, there is consensus because you can get a group of people to sign a paper that says that it is. I'm sorry, that's not where I go with this stuff.
One of the frustrations.
That's the death of science.
One of the frustrations I think I see from both sides, having family that's very scientific and family that's more religious, is, I mean, they can both coexist. But, But a scientist, again, can't be so close-minded to say, oh, well, if you question the science, you're not a scientist. You can't question the science. If you do, you're a flat earther or something like that. That's just as ridiculous,
The Big Bang Theory came up from a Catholic priest.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not. People don't understand the history.
But for a scientist to say that is just as ridiculous as somebody that's more religious. saying the opposite. The Earth must be flat in the center of the universe. I mean, that's an age-old argument.
Yeah.
Because we feel like it is.
Exactly. Because we, the church, feel like it is, or whatever, because of our religious.
I know religion is moved past that. Religion evolves too.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I would think so, but there is fundamental truths, and what we're trying to do is in science is we're trying to seek those fundamental truths. We're trying to seek objective truths, and I want us to continue to move in that direction. The only way we're going to continue to move in that direction is to continue to inspire people to move in that direction. It's to continue to inspire people and continue to inspire people to question things and say why and how, and look at it from a different angle and think about it and be like, oh, maybe, because we don't know when that next kid's going to be born that invents the warp drive, right? That takes us to stars, that takes us beyond the stars and says, oh, like, this is my idea.
I think it's 2032, according to...
Yeah.
I'm not that much of a Trekkie, but I know there was some guy that was born probably like not too far in our future on there.
Yeah, it was when World War III. It kind of feels like World War III is coming up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we're living in an episode. We were just an early episode of Star Trek. Yeah. But the idea is that I believe that we can do more great things. I do believe that this is not I know right now things may not feel great because of the economy and things that are going on and the political strife and everything like that, but there's a whole vastness out there, just unending vastness to explore. And I want us to reach towards that. I want us to discover new things. I want us to experience new experiences and move beyond our preconceived notions and ideas that we're just stuck. And I want us to inspire the young and the old alike, but people to reach further and have a more fulfilling existence. The idea that we've peaked is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah, we may have some economic hard times and stuff. We will have some economic hard times ahead of us. That goes without saying. They come and they go, and I don't know how it's going to look like going into the future and stuff, but giving people hope, real hope in exploring and expanding what we can do, I think that's always a positive thing, and I think that will drive us forward into the future. I think we got to break out of this hard set mindset about things and say, like, let's explore what we can do. I don't think everything is ancient aliens. I don't think anything is ancient aliens. I don't think there's any evidence to support that.
I would like to challenge both sides. So if anybody's listening that's a scientist, if somebody is saying something that sounds completely wackadoo, just sit down and talk to them and see how they got to that, and see if maybe you can teach them something. And then on the other side, if you come up with this theory of something, flat Earth, and I don't know, some theory of your own that maybe isn't so crazy but sounds crazy because it goes against it, why don't you sit down with that scientist and they could be like, this is why you're wrong, this is maybe why, I didn't think of that before. Because I do that all the time. I talk to people that have knowledge about stuff I don't, and I just think we can grow as a society if there's more discussions like that. Because just putting your ego aside and just having discussions. I didn't know that, or why do you think that?
Not being locked in, right?
Yeah.
Not being locked in. Let's just have a discussion. I'm going to keep my mind open. I'm going to hear what you have to say. I'm going to let you have your say, and both parties being open-minded to have that discussion, and let their ideas be challenged. Let their perception be altered a little bit, and that way that they could try to see it from what maybe they consider the person crazy or whatever, but hear them out, entertain it, and it's not like if you're a modern scientist, it's not like a flat earther is going to come and convince you. You're not going to suddenly turn into a flat earther or anything like that. But something strange they say might give you an idea of some theory or something that you might have been working on. Some observation or question, you might go, huh? You might go, huh? That's very interesting.
Maybe if I observe this, I can once and for all, like, prove something.
Yeah.
You know?
The understanding of our own sun, our own little star here.
Yeah.
You know, like when I started looking into that more and, you know, learning about the science of what we know, what our theories were, and how they were at odds with each other, and these different effects around the sun, the acceleration of particles, they speed up further away from the sun at a certain point. And it was fascinating to me to realize, like, we don't know. And that's kind of cool, because that means there's more things to explore and uncover and understand. Because what if in that exploration and uncovering and understanding, we discover a scientific effect,
another force of nature
that we can harness and manipulate and send us to other galaxies and stuff like that. I mean, that's exciting to me. I think that's very, very exciting. And I hope that more people are inspired by the work from the people that work on the James Webb. They're not great in front of a camera. A lot of these guys, they're not the personalities. They're not.
Some of them are pretty great, but
yeah, some of them
it
are.
seem like they picked the wrong.
Yeah, most of them are not TikTok stars or influencers or anything like that. But because
we might get there someday, but I definitely don't claim to be that either.
I'm not shaking my booty for the camera.
I'm trying to work on how I address stuff, because
that's only for you, Michelle. Yeah. I don't shake my booty for the camera.
But you know, even us, we're working on ourselves and how we, like, you know, address it and try to make this more interesting and not sound like we're just a couple of condescending pricks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what we really are.
Yeah. Perfect hypocrisy.
Yeah. But the idea of the channel, what we're trying to accomplish here, you know, it really is to, you know, kind of help people to break free from, you know, what they're locked into, that concreted way of thinking, to open up their mind, to explore things like scientific, things like other people from different political parties, and not be so hardened in their stance to allow the challenge of their beliefs and stuff, allow the challenge of where they stand. And I think that that's the direction that we're trying to go with this. And we're from our perspective, a couple of blue collar guys that have been, you know, working in this field in automation and technology, that have a pretty good understanding about it. We don't know everything, but and see how these things have progressed. And we're just a couple of nerds that, you know, love science, but we also love people. And, you know, we'd like to bring people along with us. Like my daddy said, the only thing you can bring to heaven with you is other people. And I really believe that. If you haven't, please subscribe or wherever it is down there, and hit the like it if you like it. Give us a thumbs down if you don't. I'm fine with it.
Subscribe and hit that little bell, and it'll like ding.
Give us some feedback. You know, leave some comments or whatever.
For sure, leave comments.
You can challenge me on some of my
tell
stances.
us that we're wrong. And,
I don't mind being told I'm wrong.
For sure, give us topics that might be interesting to hear a blue collar perspective on.
Yep, from a couple guys in automation. So, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Hope to hear from y'all. Again, please subscribe and like.
And once again, as always, I challenge you to, in anything meaningful to you, you know, think for yourself. Just think for yourself.
It's always a great message. Y'all take care now.